All right, good morning, RDPC. Welcome to October.
Good morning.
A lot of stuff going on this month, and it'd be good if weather's cooperating and get on out and go do some shooting. So that was the paid announcement from Peter, who can't be with us today. Got an exciting few months coming up. It's really good. It's really going to be good. But I think what I want to do is start with the slate of officers for next year. And let's see, it was Frank, who was the chairperson, who's not here, but Roger and Anita were on the nominating committee, and they are here. They'll announce the slate of officers. We need to vote on that on the November meeting, but to make sure everybody has an opportunity to vote, I'll be sending out an email to everybody and accepting votes by email. Also, as we've done in the past, so that'll give everybody a chance to vote and hopefully assure that we actually get a quorum voting. So, Roger, would you like to announce the slate of officers?
Up here, so people can see me. The new members on the slate of officers for president will be Peter Blankman. VP of outing will be Tom Hennessy. Co-program directors will be Sue Buranato and Vicky McCullough. And then returning, the webmaster will be Richard Paget, treasurer Ray Richardson, secretary of treasury newsletter Mary Jane Mann, and digital officer Kemp Davis. So that's the play.
Frank just came on. We took you.
Yeah, I'm sorry about that. It's no excuses, just blew it.
I'd like to thank the committee for their work. You did a fabulous job. I'm excited for this new committee. I think Peter unfortunately, well, he emailed me last night and he couldn't be here today. But I know Peter for a number of years, and I'm really excited that he's stepping up, and he has a lot of good ideas that he'll be sharing with us over the next year. And the new people, Tom, Sue, thank you so much, for stepping up and doing that, because, you guys have just been very active here in the club. Again, I'm really excited. And for the continuing officers, Kemp has just done an amazing job. Really, audio visual stuff on our meetings, allowing us to have both Zoom and in-person meetings. Ray is, and MJ, oh my God, MJ. Every month I get a newsletter and say, this is the best one she did. She could never possibly do any better until the next month when it's better. But a lot of that, of course, she'll do her own thinking. That depends on you and on us actually, and helping her out. So with that in mind, like I said, I will be sending out an email, or MJ, because I'm going to be away for the next 2 weeks.
Yeah.
Would you send out an email and include my email address where people can respond to me, and I'll be keeping tab of the votes.
Anything formal, like a header?
We can talk about it.
Okay, all right.
But we have to do the voting. Our bylaws require that the vote be taken or finalized in the November meeting. For the last few years, we've been most people have been voting via writing ballots via email, which is a good idea. So you don't have to be at the meeting. If you can't be at the meeting, you'll still be able to vote. Peter asked me for, just encourage everybody to get out and do some shooting. It's going to be a lot of events coming up this time of year. I avoided the Folk Fest this weekend because we're going to France on Saturday, and my wife and I decided we were going to avoid crowds, for a while beforehand. So I didn't get to the Folk Fest, which is the first time I've missed it in a long time, and I'm sure several of you have been there. I'd love to see your pictures and other things that are coming up. Just look for all the festivals. I'm sure Peter will be sending out notices also. What else? MJ? You want to talk about the programs also that are coming up?
Yeah, I'm helping out Nancy by just going over what she was gonna say if she was here. First of all, we're having a talk today by Tom Hennessy, and I'll introduce him when that's time to go. He's gonna be talking about how to get ready for the exhibit in November. And he'll have all kinds of suggestions on how to mount and prepare. So, well, I'm looking forward to that. Frank Mercado will be giving the presentation in November. And maybe, Frank, can you say a few words about that? What you're going to be doing?
Well, I'm pulling together a presentation. It's just going to be a light introduction to artificial intelligence as it's being applied to art and visual art making. I'm sure many of you have encountered articles already about the amazing software that's out there now, available to many of it available to the public, so that we all can experiment. But for those of you who don't know much about it, I'll give what I've been able to gather about software that, with just a bit of text description of what the artist has in mind, will create images that are pretty amazing, and as a result has caused quite a consternation in the art world about what is art, who is an artist, and the fate for people who rely on art making for a career. So there's a lot to ponder, and again, for those who don't know a lot about it, this may be their first introduction to the topic.
Sounds awesome.
Yeah,
That's interesting.
For the December program, we are considering having a small holiday get-together at the library, the Tuckahoe Library, which is already reserved. I think next month is Twin Hickory. Am I remembering correctly? For the meeting? We couldn't get Tuckahoe for next month.
Yeah, I saw that someplace.
So I think that's correct.
Yeah, anyway, we'll certainly send out reminders, but be thinking about the possibility of just doing a get together. We can have food and non-alcoholic beverages, unfortunately, at the Tuckahoe Library, and we can
Let's fill your coffee mug with something good.
yeah. No, just kidding.
You got these great RDPC coffee mugs, so just fill them with something good. They'll never know the difference.
So I think that's all.
The other thing that was on my mind, and this is gonna be up to everybody, if you want, have like a small gift exchange, not person to person, but kind of like going around, whatever, with, a limit on the value. I'm not sure what that should be, but, nothing, $25, $15, whatever. And, just throw it in a pot, or do this, I think whatever they call it, like a Chinese gift exchange. What?
White elephant.
White elephant, yeah, there are different names for them. I think that'll be a lot of fun. Give it G-rated though. Always PG rated.
Do you want me to do my monthly rattling?
Sure.
All right, as usual, we need contributions for the November newsletter for every section. Best shot, Chuck's challenges. If anybody has published anything recently, or anybody has photos hanging in a show, please let us know. We really need those pictures and stories. That's what makes the newsletter readable, is stories and pictures.
When's your next deadline, MJ?
Yeah, Patricia, do you?
When it-
Patricia,
When is the deadline? No,
Technically,
Yeah.
For your newsletter.
7 days before the end of the month.
Okay,
You get that, Richard?
Yes.
Patricia. Unmute yourself.
Uh-oh.
Maybe she didn't hear you.
Patricia, can you unmute yourself?
Yes.
There you go. How you doing?
Oh, I'm doing okay. Still under house arrest.
Uh-huh. Legs healing?
Yeah, seeing my ortho. So cleaning. I will say I attend the free version of the Lightroom Virtual Summit, which was awesome. You know, I didn't see all of the webinars, but what I saw, I learned something at every single one. So it
Yeah.
was very useful, and it talked about the AI, the artificial intelligence, and the masking, the new masking in Lightroom. So
Yeah.
I haven't learned it all, but it was a great experience, and I highly recommend it when they do it again. And it's available if you want to spend $149. You can see them all with the VIP option.
Yeah, well, that was Matt Bukowski.
Yes.
A bunch of other people put on, I think they do this every year, what they call virtual summit.
Virtual Summit.
And they have, it's 5 days. They have like a class an hour for 5 days.
It's like 30 of them.
You know, the free version is you have 48 hours to watch each session, and then it goes away. But if you want to pay like $150, you can download it. You know, so you have lifetime access, and they give you some other stuff with it. But you know, and you know, the few that I watched, you know, you never stop learning. You'll always learn something, no matter, you know, how proficient you think you are, or you actually are. You'll always learn something from somebody else. So I thought it was pretty worthwhile. I got to see several of them. Okay. So,
We've got Ray, but also I wanted to ask Patricia, can you hear me?
Yes. Yes, I can.
Are we going to extend the deadline for
I'm fine with extending the deadline. Yes, fine with extending it.
Okay, so how long is it being extended?
Whatever you think, end of the week. Maybe.
Yeah, okay, so what, anybody know what date like Saturday is? Or Sunday?
16th is Sunday. Sunday the
Yeah.
16th.
All right, so we're gonna extend the deadline for committee on the exhibit until the 16th. Is that right?
Yes.
Okay,
And what do people have to do to commit? They have to send an email to Patricia saying what?
Saying I want to participate, and ideally what you are, the titles, the price, your email, you know, the logical things, size. Yeah, title, size, price, for the most part, because this is what goes on the labels that MJ makes, and it's just good. I keep a list of who's doing what, so please send your stuff in. We can take 2 from each person at least, so so gather your stuff and get it matted and framed, and bring it on.
Yeah, it's always, it's a good show. I mean, it goes into the library, right?
Yeah, let me throw this out, which is what I'm doing. The picture that I displayed at the library in 2020, I'm redisplaying it this time.
Yeah.
Because it got no exposure. I had friends who were gonna go to see it. So therefore, something you already have framed, already have in your closet. since MJ was telling me we don't have many participants this time, we can pull those out and throw it out to the folks. To the members.
Good idea.
Yeah, well, Tom, stick around, Tom is gonna give us a lot of advice on how to get, pictures right. We've seen his presentation before, I don't know if he's added anything to it now, but, it's something that, will be valuable to all of us. Okay, anything else? Ray, okay.
Yeah. We talked about donations,
Uh-huh,
and I know the club has been making donations for the last 4 or 5 years.
right,
And so I guess the food bank sent us a letter that I distributed to everybody,
right,
which caused a lot of conversation. So we talked about putting it on the agenda for this particular meeting
Okay.
as to what the club is going to donate and to whom this year. And I guess in the mix, we have the Central Virginia Food Bank, Virginia Museum of Fine Arts, Louis Ginter, and Chuck made a suggestion. And I tried to pull up your email, Chuck, and I couldn't find it. It was some prisoners, I think, who does some things.
Oh, yeah, it's an organization called Real Life. And it's a program that helps people who are coming out of prison, men and women, who need a helping hand. But I said that only in the context that if we were looking for new sources, that would be one. But I'm certainly not saying we should not fund the ones we're funding in instead of this one. I think we ought to honor our commitments too. So, but if we were looking for something additional, that's a group that I'm very familiar with. It's well managed. So, and it's local, it's totally Richmond based
Is there a budget for the donations?
for that group.
Well, for
Oh, I don't
this
know.
organization
is
to,
there something in the budget for?
or is it kind of?
Um, No, I don't think we had a budget
I don't think we have a
specific
specific.
for donation. We did. That shows up under. No, hold it. Take that back. $214.
So it's like $200 for donation.
Yeah, I stand corrected.
Okay, so there is a line item budget. 214.
Yes,
That's a weird number.
it is. Yeah, we do it, math.
Okay, you do percentage.
Mathematics.
So let's round it to $200. So we have a budget, line item budget, $200 for donations. In the past, we've given $100 to Feedmore, right?
Yes,
And 50 to Ginter and what to BMFA?
50. We have done that in the past.
So 50 and 50. That's our,
Grand total of 200,
yeah.
which is my recommendation.
So you want to make a motion?
I motion that the club.
Excuse me, I have a suggestion before we go to the vote. Good morning, everybody.
Morning.
Good
I
morning.
think as photographers, if we want to give back, it should be to those who provide the access to us, to the beautiful gardens and the wonderful James River. And I'd like the club to consider half their donation going to Louis Skinner and half going to Friends of the James. That's a nonprofit. They do a lot of work on the access. And they have a great website. You could look at their mission. And also our speaker from last month, Bill Draper, is on the board of directors. Could we consider?
That's a good suggestion, Gina. We have another suggestion for Friends of the James River.
Yeah.
And that is a good organization.
Definitely.
However, I think we also should consider helping our friends and neighbors who are really in need. And I know, Art Space Gallery, which I'm on the board of Art Space Gallery. We just had a big event, and it was to benefit benefits feed more. And through that event, we were able to donate, like $1,000 to feed more. Which I thought was, they're a much bigger organization than we are. I'm not suggesting we would consider that amount. But I don't think we need to, I don't think we should eliminate an organization like Feed More. But I agree with you, Gina, that, we should consider like the Friends of James also. So maybe we kind of spread it out a little bit more. Thank you.
My thoughts about the VMFA is that they are probably well funded. That if we gave them $50, it would just be a drop in the bucket. And they've got grants and they charge admission and that kind of thing. I know it's a nonprofit, but we could probably use that $50 in for someone else that needs it more.
I like your idea.
And I guess
I was thinking the same thing, honestly.
they also do some public funding too, don't they, or do they?
It wouldn't surprise me.
It's
They could
paid,
be
yeah.
grants. Yeah.
So,
Right.
right,
Yeah, I think someone had suggested in the emails that went back and forth that we consider a donation that's related to our goal to promoting photography and photographic art. And in my view, if in fact someone has a connection with a Richmond Public School that has a struggling photography department, that a contribution in that arena not only would do the public, a public good, but also in the long run will provide us with more people interested in photography. So a donation of money and eventually perhaps even old equipment might be very welcome by a struggling school that's trying to promote art, photographic art among their students. Again, I don't know if anybody has such a connection, but to me, that would be the kind of thing where $50, $100, and maybe even some old equipment would be very welcome, along the lines that of the earlier comment that, $50 for VMFA, they won't even notice it. But $50, $100, something like that to a struggling public school
So Frank,
might
do
be
you
a
have
big
any,
deal.
schools in mind?
I don't particulars and that in my anybody.
I think that's a great idea also.
Yeah, I concur.
So why don't we do this? Why don't we?
What about you might want to contact Morgan Stanley. She's in the CCR, and she's a young woman who started a camera club at her high school. She might be a person that club might be a possible to fund, but also she may know of others. Just a thought. She does some good stuff.
All right, let's table this decision until next month. And let's, come back next month and if we can identify, some schools or maybe other organizations, and maybe we can spread the love around a little bit more.
I'll tell you what, I'll volunteer to contact somebody in Richmond Public Schools, like their art specialist,
Okay,
to see if, what one school might be that's doing photography might have great need.
sounds good.
I'll do that.
Okay,
Okay.
sounds good.
well, let me throw out one other thing there. The club currently has $1,939 in its operating fund, not the capital fund, but the operating fund. So we're, shall I say, richer than we've ever been before. And
Flush.
and because of COVID and because we haven't been able to do a lot of things or have any top dollar speakers and anything. So we have the money. So even if we go above the $214, I as treasurer don't have a problem with it.
Okay,
So
okay, thanks.
with that in mind,
Well, let's, again, let's take this up again next month, and let's see if we can get, a couple of organizations on the list and see what we'll see what we can do. Does that sound good?
Sounds good.
Okay,
Yeah, maybe after we have that, then we can do like a rank vote or something like.
yeah, something like that, yeah. We'll do something.
But let me just leave it with that I agree with Nancy and Ed and Anita that we still can do some good help people who are struggling, even if it's not photography related, such as the Virginia Food Bank or Central Virginia Food Bank.
Yeah.
So
Yeah.
let's not toss that aside.
Yeah.
As we are thinking through it.
Agreed. All right, anything else from committee, board members? So, is Tom up?
I will, you need to set up yes or something. And while he's doing that, I will, do the introduction. Has a bachelor's in biology from California State College in Pennsylvania. And that's not a typo. California, it's actually the town. I looked this up, not Tom. It's the town of California in Pennsylvania. In 1979, he studied photography at the Art Institute of Pittsburgh. And he has been focused on visual photography since 2011. He retired from a full-time technical support position early in 2016, and now he spends his time on photography and travel. He also teaches photography classes at Lewis Ginter and is their unofficial official photographer for social media, or maybe it's official unofficial photographer for social media. So, Tom, take it away.
We're getting connected.
Okay. Also, if you want to encourage people to ask questions, either whether they're zooming or here, if they've got any questions at all about how to do something for the exhibit. There's bound to be somebody, Tom or somebody else in the room that I think come up with an idea.
MJ, when we talk to you guys about that we're gonna put something in, do we have to commit to how many pictures we're gonna put in at that point?
For the exhibit?
Yeah.
Yeah, by this Sunday, yeah.
Okay.
Yeah. And let's see. Here's the. Like right here, right? Here's the.
I should also reiterate that you don't have to have your pictures ready to go until the 1st of November. So basically, this is you're just committing to participate. You don't have to have everything ready to go.
I just included you. Suggestion that they. In order to get more preciseness in the play. That they could use some of the old folk.
Actually, I can put that down. I think that's a terrific idea. And thank you. Happy to do this. Yeah, I think we're going to be sending out an email saying that the deadline's been extended, and I think including this.
No, it's on.
It's great.
Yeah.
Thank you.
Okay, I actually have two short presentations.
Should we hit the lights? You think, would that be better? Which way?
The first one, when Nancy said about entering the show, I kind of thought of more, a bit of a generic talk on there's a lot of photography shows or art shows around. You know, what do you think about in order to enter one? So first thing is, what type of show are you entering? Is it a juried show or an exhibition? A jury show, you're gonna have a judge who decides whether you get in or not. In an exhibition like what we're doing in November, you make your own decision. And you put in what you want. And that gives you a, sometimes a different perspective on what you want to put into the show. Is it strictly photography or is it an all media show? Is there a theme? Sometimes if there's a theme, you decide, gee, I'm gonna go out and take pictures to match that theme. Or you go look through your catalog to say, geez, there's something I have that already fits the theme. Then depending on the theme, you say, no, that's not something that really fits me. Is there a limit to the number of entries? Very often there is. Is there a limit to the size of the entries? I think in this show, it's a limit of 20 by 30, maximum size for an entry. So, that can be a factor in what you're going to do. Do the entries have to be for sale? Some shows require them to be for sale because they're collecting a commission and they want the money. And then how will you price it? Sometimes if you don't want to sell it, but it has to be for sale, you stick a price on it, you know that nobody's going to pay. I've seen that happen more than once. And also how much commission will be charged, which is a big factor on how are you going to price it. So that's something you need to consider. Then how do you decide what you're going to enter? First of all, what photos have I taken recently that I'm really happy with? What do I really want to do? The other question is, what do I think the judge will like? That's a big mistake to try to second guess the judges, because judges are very inscrutable and they're very often wrong. So just decide what you want. Same thing with what will a buyer like? Go under the assumption that if you like it, maybe somebody else will too. And that's the only way to approach it. Trying to second guess all that can be a real challenge. And then what are you going to do? What type of a print? Matted and framed, metal print, an acrylic print, a canvas print. These are all good options when you're entering a show. They all have a place and they can all really show off your work well if you choose the right thing. Where are you going to get your print? Are you going to print it yourself? I'd like to print them myself if I can, but if they're too big, I have to get somebody else to print them. I can do up to a 16 by 24 is the biggest I can print at this point. Get a friend to print it or send it to a photo lab. What I wish Richmond had was a photo lab that would give you a choice of several different high quality papers. That would be really nice. I've used Richmond Pro Lab and they have one type of Jiggly print they have, which is a matte finish print. I've used them, but it's not my favorite. So I tend to use a different type of paper. Who's going to frame it? You're going to frame it yourself? You can go to Michael's or Hobby Lobby or a place like that and buy a frame off the shelf. And they always have coupons. When I first started out with this, I was getting a lot of frames at Michael's and, getting a 40% off coupon and doing that. Now I do custom ordered frames. I get them from Frame Destination. So I'm getting exactly what I want. You can get a friend to frame it if they do that sort of thing, or you can go to a local frame shop. There's some very good frame shops around that can do a very nice job of framing for you. Okay. How will you price it? I've seen people price things what I thought were very low. I thought they, were kind of selling themselves short by underpricing them. I've also seen people very seriously overpricing them. There was a woman photographer who was down at Crossroads for a while, not very long. She thought that her photography should be priced like a painting. It didn't work. A print that I would sell for $200, she was trying to price at $2,000. That doesn't work, okay? So you can't underprice it. So you go around to the galleries and see how are things being priced. And you have to take the gallery's commission into account. Crossroads doesn't charge a real high commission. Some galleries, it's an automatic 50% commission. And so, if 50% of your sale price goes to commission, you have to be able to cover the cost of your print, the cost of the framing, and the cost of the commission whenever you price it. So that can be a challenge. Okay. And then what will you title it? I hate choosing titles because I take a lot of similar photos. When you take a photo of a pink dahlia and you take two of them, I mean, there's pink dahlia number 1. Here's pink dahlia number 2. I haven't gotten yet to the point of saying untitled yet. But I don't like the framing part of it. Okay. This is one of the ways that I do my framing. This is a metal frame that I have wired. Most galleries want them to be wired. I use metal frame. I stick my business card on it. And down in the corner there, I actually have guidelines on how to care for the print, because I use non-glare acrylic for my instead of glass, and you don't use Windex and a paper towel on it. You can scratch it and the Windex can yellow it. So there's specific glass cleaners or plexiglass cleaners that can be used in order to do it. So I've got a little note there on how to care for it so that it doesn't go bad. This is a close-up of just how I've got, the wiring on there. Because the frames I buy, they come with the wiring information. And this is a finished product. The thing that's different on this one is I put on the back of it my name, what it is, the title of it, the size of it, and the price, so that information is on the back of the print when I sell it. So that's how I do it. Okay.
Excuse me, Tom.
Yes.
The backing on that, does that come when you get that frame?
Yes, when I get the frame.
Not just the mat, but that.
Yeah, the frame, and that is acid-free foam board. And I get it all as a package through Frame Destination. Okay. Yeah. So I'm gonna close this one. And
I have a question there, I know, doesn't the air get into the picture? Do you have to worry about it expanding and the contrasting
I don't believe so,
temperature?
because the way I do it is I attach my print to the backing board, which is acid-free foam board.
Okay,
And then I put the mat onto that, and I hold that on with double-sided tape. So I'm basically making a sandwich, and then it's pressed very tightly into the frame with spring clips. So it's in there very tightly.
okay.
But everything is acid-free.
And you said you use a non-glare acrylic.
I do. I use the non-glare acrylic because the glass can be a challenge.
Is the acrylic cheaper than glass or more expensive?
It's a little bit cheaper. It depends on the acrylic. They have different grades of acrylic. And there's a very high-end acrylic that's just as expensive as very high-end museum glass. They're both really expensive. I use just a basic non-glare acrylic that I've been really happy with. It's really lightweight. It's very hard to shatter. It's almost shatterproof. The biggest thing you have to worry about is over time it can scratch, which is why, I give instructions on just basically using a microfiber cloth and just water or the right kind of cleaner, and it'll last a long time. Very good quality.
Can I ask a question? For that setup you just showed, the frame, and you priced that at, I saw it was priced at $200. How much of that was the cost of framing as you depicted it there?
Could you understand?
You said you saw on that other one and the price was $200. He was wondering how much of that $200 is the price of the frame?
Half. Yeah.
I have a question too.
The thing that you have to be careful with in pricing, as Tom mentioned, with commissions. Let's say, for example, you price a picture at $300. And the commission is 50%. Usually it's not that high. It's usually between 35 and 50%, but just for ease, let's say the commission is 50%. So you get $150. Now you have to pay your costs of the framing, which could be real close to about $100.
Yeah.
You know, so for a $300 sales price, your profit is $50 under those numbers. So just be aware of that and make sure that you're pricing it so that you can make a profit that you feel comfortable with.
And my guidance is, you know, I looked through the numbers of what I do down at Crossroads. Overall, I am not making a profit. By the time I pay for my monthly rent for my space, and then, you know, the commissions that I pay and what I make, I do make enough that when I get a check from them, I can then go out and buy more frames and do it again. But I am at a net loss over the year, but to me, it's a hobby and I enjoy it.
It's a tax shelter.
Yeah, it's not even. But
I have-
I mean, that's,
I have a question.
Yeah.
Can you advise what sort of image you think, just personal opinion, you think works best as a canvas or as a metal, as opposed to standard framing? What do you look for in terms of a piece that would work specifically for canvas or for metal?
For what sort of image would you select for canvas or metal as opposed to a traditional frame?
Yes.
the texture of the canvas can give something an almost painterly look. So
Mhm.
something that looks like it would look good, you know, it's not gonna be as extremely sharp as a print or metal prints are very sharp. They can be very, very sharp. So very, you know, they can be very high gloss and, you know, very high impact. The canvas prints have a little bit more of a texture to them from the canvas. And that can give you just a different look, although I have done the same print in both canvas and just standard prints. One of the prints that I'm going to enter in the November show will be on canvas and another one will be printed. But the one that I'm putting on canvas is one that is probably the most successful print that I've ever done. It's a photograph of the Kehinde Wiley statue down at the VMFA.
Yeah, I know which one
And
you're
I just
talking about.
happened to catch it on a perfect day when I had big billowy clouds behind it. And it's worked out really well. I'm doing that one on canvas, but I've done it on metal, I've done it on canvas, I've done it as prints before, and it's been a good one.
Thank you.
So, you know, the options are matted and framed. And there's some standard framing sizes out there. You can go out to Michael's in a 16 by 20 frame that's matted to fit and 11 by 14 print. Or a whole lot of other sizes, but there's certain standard frame sizes that you find out there. Sometimes you need to customize it because, you know, if you want to do something that's a panorama, you're not going to buy a panoramic frame at Michael's. You're going to have to do that more customized. So depending on the sizes you want, you can do that. You can do the canvas gallery wraps, which are nice. They can be framed or unframed. I typically prefer to frame them, just for protection. Question.
Is it a gallery wrap because it wraps around the side of it? Is that what that means?
Yeah, wraps around an actual, you know, wraps around the frame.
Okay,
It's the same type of frame as if you were buying a frame, you know, the frame canvas in order to paint on. That's what, now you can print on canvas and then mat it and frame it. You know, there is canvas that you can buy that way, but these are typically wrapped around a wooden frame.
so the image goes around the side of the frame.
It can, or you can have the sides of the frame be either black or white. I tend to do black because I don't like to have my image wrap around. I basically crop it for the whole image to be on the frame rather than losing some of it by having it go around the frame.
Tom, another question.
Yes,
Where do you get your canvas work done?
right now I've been using Costco.
Oh, okay.
Now, there are other places, I know Richmond Camera does them, Richmond Pro Lab.
Yeah, there's a place that's online that constantly has discounts that I've used before.
Yeah, I haven't used those, but I have done them through Costco. Now,
Uh-huh.
Costco no longer does photography at their shops, at the Costco stores. So anything you order, whether it be prints or the canvas wraps, they just get mailed to you. But that's the one that I'm gonna enter in the show is on canvas from Costco. And they have certain standard sizes. They don't do custom work, but the standard sizes they have work nicely. And if you get them framed from Costco, there's only one type of frame they give for these, but it's a black float frame, and I've made use of that. I've had them printed on aluminum and I've had them printed on acrylic. And Costco will do both aluminum and acrylic. One challenge with them is that the aluminum prints and the acrylic prints are not set up in a way that makes them easy to wire. So I've had to work a little bit to wire them when I've done them from Costco. But other places that I've gotten the metal prints through do come wired. I've gotten them from Bay Photo, but they really got expensive recently. They've really gotten expensive, the metal prints there.
Have you had any issues with Costco?
No,
And their delivery time is reasonable?
yeah, the delivery time is good. Yeah, it's within a week.
Yeah, it's about 10 days, and a week to 10 days, but it's free. Are those free on the canvas ones?
Hmm?
I know the prints are free. Is there shipping free on the canvas?
And it's not, no, but it's not very expensive. Yeah,
Yeah, I've been very pleased with Costco.
yeah, I have been too.
And I did a bunch of VHS transfers to digital through them.
Yeah. Now, standard framing for photography is different than framing for if you're gonna hang it in your house. You know, if you go out to the VMFA and you look at their photography exhibits, it's going to be a black frame with a white or very close to white mat. That's very, very typical. And normally fairly wide mat because the purpose is to focus on the print, not the framing. So a thin black frame with a wide white mat board is pretty much standard for photography. You can use different colors of mat boards and different colors of frames, but you really have to make sure that you're doing it right to bring out the best of your print. But the standard is, you know, basically black and white. You can do the matted and frame prints. You can get the off-the-shelf framing sizes, get the custom sizes. Frames can be wood or metal. It can be a single mat or double mats. I like double mats, but they just cost more. You know, and when I'm doing these, you know, the cost of the mats and the cost of the frames and all, say a typical single matted 18 by 24 that I do is costing me between $90 and $100. So, you know, there's some cost involved in that. If I add a second mat, that's gonna probably add another $15 a month. So it's just, so what I tend to do is I do a single mat, but I have the mat cut large enough so that I'm showing 1/4 of an inch of the paper all the way around the image. I want the full image to be seen plus 1/4 inch of the paper. So it almost looks like a double mat when you do that. Glass or acrylic glazing. You know, standard is glass. But the acrylic that I use is pretty good quality acrylic, and I'm very happy with it. I get the non-glare and I get it UV resistant. Sometimes I've been in places where with a high gloss glass, you just can't see the image because there's too much glare in the environment. And that can be a challenge depending on where it's going to be seen. These are some standard prints or standard frames you can get at Frame Destination. And these are, I believe, going to have glass, but these are a 16 by 20 frame, matted to fit an 11 by 14 inch image. And there's the two on the left are metal frames, and the one on the right is a wooden frame. And the thing about the wooden frames are nice. They are thicker. They have to be because you're going to screw the wiring into the wood on the frame. And so it has to be thicker in order to have a wooden frame. But the metal frames, like the one in the middle, it just gives you a very thin line around the image, and that can be a very nice look, depending on what you're trying to do.
Which one do you typically? tend to
I
use?
usually use one of the two, I very commonly use the one to the left, but I also like the one in the middle. I've done that for some, I like just that very thin line.
Will they do a custom mat size?
Hmm?
In a 16 by 20,
Will
like
they
an
do
11, like an 11 by 15 instead of 11 by 14?
Will they do?
Custom mat size?
Yes, these are standard frames. You can just go in and buy. But what I do is I go and I order a custom frame, and that lets me choose the size of the mat, or the size of the frame and the size of the opening in the mat. Which is why, so I do typically, I'll do an 18 by 24 inch. And the opening size will be for a 12 by 18 inch image. I'm using 13 by 19 inch paper. So by doing a 12 by 18 inch image, I have a total of an inch left. So I have a half an inch all around the image. And I'm going to put a mat in that covers a quarter inch of that. So I'm going to have a quarter inch between the image and the mat. So the opening size will be 12.5 by 18.5. And I can customize whatever size I want. I don't personally like to have the mat overlapping the image. I like to have the full image show, because that's how I chose the image. So I like to have that opening there. Okay.
Do they offer an option to do an 11 by 15 mat inside one of these standard 16 by 20 frames, or is that still a custom thing?
That would still be custom. The standard is an 11 by 14 in the 16 by 20, but that 11 by 14, the opening is smaller than 11 by 14.
Right, I understand. Yeah.
It's going to overlap your picture a little bit.
Patricia.
Right. Yes.
Patricia, Anita here. I have had frames that were standard size, and I had a print that wasn't. I've gone to Michael's and had a custom mat done
Yeah. Okay.
to go into the frame.
Yes. Okay. Thank you.
So when you print your image, you print it with a border. Is that what
Yes.
you're saying?
Yeah, I print it so that there's a border on it. And that way I have it a quarter inch between the mat and the actual image all around.
Tom, you get the acrylic face in a glass, I call it, from these same people.
Yeah, it all comes as a package.
Okay,
You
because I
can
know you
order-
said standard to come with glass, I think you said.
Yeah, the standard off the shelf ones you get do come with that, but then you can customize it.
I got it.
Okay. So then there's different questions on how wide should the mat be? The standard having an 11 by 14 and a 16 by 20 frame. The challenge with that is you're going to have a different amount of mat on the tops and on the sides. What I've been doing more is having an equal size mat board on top and bottom, or top, top, bottom, and sides. So one guideline is to say, okay, add up the length and width of the image and then divide by 11. So if I'm doing a 12 by 18 inch image, that's 30. Divide by 11 gives me 2.7 inches. So each on each side. So that would give me 17.4 by 23.4. But I round up to 18 by 24, and I think it looks pretty good. I'd rather have a little bit more mat than too little, which is the way I tend to do it. And here's, the same size image with two different, sizes of mat. If the mat is too thick, too narrow, it crowds the image. Whereas the one on the right, maybe consider that a little bit too much mat board, but it's better too much than too little on the image, because it allows you to really separate it and see it. Okay, and now here's the difference between having, sometimes it used to be the standard was to have more matte show on the bottom. They had a bottom weighted. The problem with that for me is that when I buy a series of frames, I buy at least 4 at a time because I get a discount by buying 4 at a time. And I might use that for prints that are vertical, and I might use it for prints that are horizontal. So rather than having them bottom weighted, I have them even, so I can use it for a horizontal or a vertical image either way. But the bottom weighting is fine. But I just like to have the equal amount all around that makes the frame more flexible for me. Here's an example of one that I printed, okay? 12 by 18 inch image in a 18 by 24 inch frame. I've got 1 1/4 inches all the way around it. So there's 2 3/4 of an inch of matte showing on all sides. And I think you can tell there that there's space between the mat board and the print itself.
I have a question.
Yeah,
Is there a convention on how you sign your pieces? I noticed in this one, you signed it on
I've
the,
signed it on the paper.
on the paper,
Yeah,
but if you enclose your image fully.
you can
with
sign it on the
that,
mat board. Yeah,
Sign it on the mat board,
yeah,
okay?
But
yeah.
what I've been doing is, all honesty, dealing with ink or whatever, where you will sign it on the artwork. I've been signing mine directly on the artwork. Right in the bottom right-hand corner.
On
I
top of
mean,
the
it's unusual, you don't usually see it that way, but I've decided to do it that way.
I have a really lousy signature. I have really lousy handwriting, so I don't do that.
So, but I think the problem with signing on the mat board is that somebody can change the mat board.
Yeah,
And then your signature is not there, so, I think, what Tom does, he'll sign actually on the paper. And even if you cover it up,
it's
and
still
they
there.
don't see this, cut, in pencil, sign it, on the paper itself. Even, below the image, so that your signature is still there.
Tom, question, when you're printing that or Photoshop or Lightroom, whatever you're using, do you use what? Canvas image so that you get that border?
The way I'm printing out of Lightroom.
Mhm.
And I'm printing on 13 by 19 inch paper.
Oh,
And basically printing out of Lightroom, it lets me say what size image do I want? And I want a 12 by 18 inch image,
and you're using that 13 by
13 by 19 inch paper, yeah.
Okay,
Yeah, and all the printing applications, you set the size of the paper.
Yeah.
And it'll also give you an opportunity to set the size of the print.
And
And it'll center the print on the paper.
this is using the same frame and mat board, but I'm using it on a vertical image rather than horizontal. So basically the same approach.
Let me ask you a quick question here, both Tom, you and Ed, y'all talk about framing, signing the picture versus the mat board or whatnot. Do you not use the, what do you call it, the, watermark anymore?
No, don't use the watermark. It's. Oh,
Go ahead,
God,
it's
don't
what,
use the watermark.
it's what, go ahead.
you mean,
I just think I think using a watermark is very tacky.
Thank you.
But that's my personal opinion. And I know, there are a lot of, shows like, I'll go online, I'll find these shows and I'll submit to them. A lot of them say no watermarks because, it is kind of tacky.
A lot of people say, what?
No watermarks on the line.
This is a different one. I used a white frame for it because I thought the image would look good on white. And on this one, I think you can see I actually signed it on the mat board. I put my name and the title on the mat board itself.
Tom, when you do that, this is a really dumb question, but what kind of a pen do you use? Do you use a Sharpie?
No, well, if I'm writing it on the mat board, I use a very fine pencil. The paper I used, a pencil doesn't write on it. I do use a very fine point. It's not a Sharpie, but it's a very fine point pen like that I can write, because a pencil does not work on the papers, has a bit satin finish on it, and a pencil doesn't write on it.
And if you have a dark picture where the photo itself has got black corners or something, what do you use? You use white ink of some kind?
No, 'cause I don't write on the image itself. I just write on the paper.
Okay.
Yeah.
Oh, I see. What you-
Yeah. This is the same type of look, except this was for a 9 by 18 inch image. So it's more of a panorama, and the frame is 15 by 24, but it has the same amount of mat board showing all around. Just the same type of thing. And again, this is a very thin, very thin frame on it. This is a wooden one with a cream colored mat, which I thought looked good for this particular image. You know, it's not the standard black and white, but for this image, I thought it worked. Again, the same, same dimensions and all. Canvas gallery wraps or mounted canvas prints. I've done both of those. They have fairly minimal glare. There's the texture of the canvas, and they can be framed or unframed. This is a canvas gallery wrap that I have, which is unframed. The problem with being unframed is over time, you can start to see some wear on the edges if you handle it a fair amount. But this is the image. I did this many years ago. But that's one that I have. You can see there's a, depending on the light, you can pick up a little bit of glare for it, but not an extreme amount. You can see the texture. This is one which is a canvas gallery wrap, but is in a float frame. And that float frame helps to protect it. And this is, again, looking at it from the side, the canvas gallery wrap in the float frame. And this is from Costco. This is the way their float frames work. They do them very nicely. Okay. So that's the job.
Excuse me, Tom, I think you said this, but when you order from Costco, they put the backing and they give you the hooks. Is that something that you do?
Well, when you order from Costco, they just come with a little clip at the top. You have to wire it yourself.
Gotcha.
But if you get them from Frame Destination, if you do the complete frame package, they'll send you the wire and the clips and everything that you need to be able to. You still have to attach it yourself, but they send it. Now, this is also a canvas print, but this is canvas mounted on Masonite, which I had printed through Richmond Pro Lab. And I put this one in a frame because I wanted to protect it. It looks a little bit unfinished. It was just, and there's no way to mount it otherwise. So I put this one, this is a metal frame that I got from Frame Destination. And I thought that the color is called German silver. But I thought that it looked well with this particular image. And so this has the same type of wire backing on, wire mount on it that I would use for a different frame. Okay. You can also print on metal. You can get different finishes from very high gloss to very matte, depending on how you want to do it. It can be framed or unframed, and it's got a pretty contemporary look to do that. The print that I have done several years ago on metal, and this is with a satin finish. This is in a room where it's near a window, but there's no glare at all. It doesn't show glare at all. And it's about 1/2 inch away from the wall. It has a framer in the back and wiring on it, which helps, that keeps it separate away from the wall. And it's a good way to do it. You can also do prints that the print is actually behind acrylic. So you've got a sheet of very high gloss acrylic on it, and that gives you a very high gloss image, and it can really pop with the right image. This is one that I did a couple years ago. But even with this, you can see a little bit of reflections on it. It does pick up some glare. But just like the print on metal, it is separated, it's away from the wall a little bit. I did get this one from Costco, and I had to find a way to wire it because it wasn't set up for wire. What it's really set up for is they have a type of cleat that you stick to the wall and then put this and then hang this on it, and it keeps it totally level. You never have to adjust it, which is a nice feature. Okay. That's it. Any questions?
Thank you.
Do you use a particular kind of double-sided tape?
What?
Or
Pardon?
do you use a particular brand of double-sided tape?
Scotch.
Oh, really?
Yeah.
And do you tape at right angles at the corners, or where do
Well,
you?
what I do with the image is I use type of hinging paper to actually put the print onto the backing board. And then around the print on the backing board, but not touching the print, is where I put my double-sided tape to hold the mat board to the backing board. But it doesn't touch the image. It's just put around the edges. And then that makes it a sandwich. And then there's spring clips in the back. Do we have time for just one more thing?
Yeah.
Let me close this and go to frame destination. See, I wonder if I have that. So cancel that.
And Tom, when you send in things to the exhibit, you are at their mercy where they're gonna hang it up. Is it gonna be by a window? Is it gonna be by a dark room?
Yeah,
And you have no, you can't tell them, don't put it by the window, because I didn't
no,
get the
and
non.
I just did that, through Crossroads. They had some things shown out at Lewis Ginter. It had a very nice print of a butterfly on a flower. And it was at the dark end of the hall. You couldn't even see it. Yeah, I was like, geez, come on, guys. But okay, frame destination, which is where I buy my prints. Okay. So custom metal frames, which is what I go to. Okay, and there's the different profiles and types of frames that you can get. And as we've mentioned before here, if you go to Frame Destinations and you tell them that you are a member of the photography club, they will give you an automatic 10% discount whenever you order. You only have to set yourself up once.
Whenever you order?
Whenever you order, you set up an account with them and you always have a 10% discount. Now, they often will send out things where they have different free shipping or 15% off or whatever. I have found sometimes the free ship, they will only give you one discount. So you can either take your 10% discount or the free shipping. But depending on what the deal is, the 10% discount might be better, or the free shipping might be better. So here's the different frames that they have. And when you click on them, it shows you what the profile of the frame is. Okay, and how thick it is and so forth. So if I choose this one, okay, I can then come down here and I say, okay, I want to do Crescent Select Matte Board, and I want to do, they're super white. I want it to be very, very white. I want it to be whiter than a Trump rally in Iowa. And then I say, okay, I want to give you some relatively standard sizes. I'm going to do 12 by 18 inch in an 18 by 24 inch frame. But okay, now I'm going to choose my glass, which is non-glare acrylic, 1/10 of an inch. And I'm going to use foam board. I'm going to use acid-free 1/8 inch foam board. Now here I have to do, here's where I do my custom sizing. Okay, the artwork size is 12 by 18. And I want the artwork overlap to be a negative 1/4 inch, which means I will have a 1/4 inch on all sides of the image. And then I have to make sure that I want to choose it by frame size. Not by, because it was gonna add a certain amount of space for this. So now this is giving me a 12 by 18-inch image. A negative 1/4 inch overlap, so I'll have a 1/4 inch all the way around. I've got my non-glare glass, 18 by 24-inch frame. Wrong foam board, I want acid-free foam board. It will come with the metal hanging kit because I'm buying the complete frame. And this would be $108. If I choose 4 of them, they come out to $103 each.
One thing that I know, I think I announced it when I first set it up a couple of years ago. The frame destination gives like an automatic 10% discount to members of clubs.
Yeah.
Richmond Digital Photo Club is on their list.
Yeah.
So if you set up an account with them, I think you have to call customer service.
Yeah, you do.
And they will tag your account as being a member of RDPC, and then you will automatically, you don't have to, there's no codes, you don't have to do anything else. They will automatically give you a 10% discount on all purchases.
So now this frame with our discount would be about $93. Okay. And it's a very good quality frame. I've been very happy with them. And so I've done that. So
And then when they say upload image, you can have them do that? I mean.
you can upload
but
an
you
image.
put your own,
No, you can upload an image just to see how it would look in the frame,
Yeah.
but they don't do any printing. Now, there is another place that I have not used, but it's pictureframes.com. I don't think they're as user friendly for doing this part of it, but they do printing on different photo papers. So they will do printing for you, and they will give you a choice of different good quality photo papers to use. I have not used them because I have a printer, so I print my own.
I have a question.
I'm sorry, somebody online wanted a question.
Yeah, I don't know if you can hear me. I've had concern in the past about the use of non-glare acrylic because it tends to sort of diminish the resolution of the photograph. Have you had any issues like that?
The resolution?
Yeah, with not using non-glare glass, reducing the resolution of the image.
I don't believe it does. The glass is so close to the image, and the non-glare is a very, very light finish on it. I don't believe that it affects your resolution at all.
Yeah, I have a different opinion. And I think most of, people who actually do the glass, make the glass will tell you, because the way it becomes non-glare is that it spreads the light out. So it may be imperceptible. You may not see it, but it does affect the resolution a tiny amount. The question is it going to bother you or not? So I would, yeah, non-glare, I never buy non-glare simply because it's more expensive.
Is that the same as museum glass?
Now, museum glass is even more expensive than that. It's like UV protected, non-glare. It's
take a look.
hugely expensive.
Okay, right now, we're looking at these frames would be $103 each. That's with the non-glare acrylic.
Right.
If I go with standard, well, if I just go with standard glass, they have. Price drops quite a bit. It's the standard,
Yeah. The
glass.
standard acrylic will be somewhere in between that. Acrylic is more expensive.
Yeah. If I go with, if I go with,
Standard acrylic is the first one on the list.
let's see. UV reflective water white art glass,
That's gonna be hugely expensive.
$222. Wow. Okay, I don't use that. Okay, there's also Octium Museum acrylic,
That's gonna be hugely expensive.
which is the same as so those are very expensive.
Regular acrylic, if you go up to the top of that list and just choose regular acrylic, let's see what.
Standard acrylic,
Standard acrylic,
yeah. It's,
$86.
but I haven't been happy with the standard acrylic, because I had bought some frames and the standard acrylic was just not that good looking. It's, I don't know, but
It's standard acrylic.
yeah, yeah, but the non-glare acrylic is very nice quality. It's heavier duty. I've been very happy with it.
Yeah, I have no problems with it.
But why acrylic rather than glass?
Acrylic is very hard to break and it's very lightweight. So,
Yeah, the disadvantage of acrylic is that it's very easy to scratch. Where, you know, glass is almost impossible to scratch unless you're using a diamond, but it will break easily. I've started, depending upon what I'm going to do with the photo, because I've had, you know, submitted photos. I haven't done this in a while. I haven't submitted the crossroads or artworks for a while. But I used to get frames back with the acrylic scratched from them. So I started using glass when I'm submitting to them.
So they're gonna have a lot of handling.
Yeah, there's a lot of handling and it's very easily scratched.
I have not had any of my images, any of mine scratch.
I wish I had your experience.
Yeah, yeah. But it may be that standard acrylic is very easy to scratch. This seems to be a lot better.
Okay,
One question. Tom, would you be willing to share your presentation on the website?
Yeah.
And so,
Email it to you,
well, actually, we're going to.
huh? Go to
Yeah,
Ken.
Richard,
No,
sorry.
yeah,
it's already been, yeah, is it already being recorded or?
Yeah, it's being recorded, so the recorded version of it will be.
Oh, okay, that's great. I just wanted, that was a great presentation. I wanted the rest of the membership to
Yeah,
have access to it.
that was awesome.
Very good. Thank you.
Thank you.
Yeah, thank you.
We better start on this right away. So we can help Patricia. I'll remember that.
Yeah, the turnaround time for Prime Destination, you really got to give them about a week.
Yeah.
You know, turnaround time to get it back to you, because they're based in Dallas. You don't want expedited shipping because it's stupidly
Very
expensive.
expensive, yeah.
You could ask them to expedite it and it's an extra $20 in round numbers, could be a little more or less. Or they'll get it shipped that day or the next day. But you're better off giving yourself a lot of lead time. I'll also say that the customer service is awesome. I've been using it for years, and you know, I may have had one problem with a frame that they sent to me because it wasn't square. It was
Yeah.
weird. It's just, you know, I put the acrylic down and, you know, the acrylic didn't fit, so they just didn't do it square, and I contacted them and they just sent me a note.
Yeah.
That's awesome. Oh, that's a very professional presentation you have there, fella.
Yeah, really.
I'm serious.
So we have a photo share now?
Yeah,
Okay. You have some rollover, some last one?
yeah, I can start with the ones that we had left over from last month. So this is Frank's.
Oh, yeah, this was taken in Ashland. And it's a stacked focused shot. There's, I don't know, probably something on the order of half a dozen or more photographs involved in making this shot, stacking them together so that the rails were in focus all the way to infinity. And the periphery on the side was converted black and white and allowed to go out of focus. It was just to concentrate the eyes on the rails receding to infinity.
This is This is my photo. Yeah, the theme was transportation details. Yeah,
Oh, yeah.
that's right, yeah. And so I did a little from different types of transportation, of course, and then start with the horse here. There was some people on ice skates. Some hot air balloons.
Suppose that's owned by Dennis.
I was thinking the same thing.
That was, yeah, could have been, that was at the flying circus over the aerodrome out there near Warrenton. And this bicycle is at the tractor museum down in Colonial
Oh,
Heights.
yeah.
Which that thing would be horrible to ride.
I was thinking that seat stuff.
The wooden wheels and all that stuff. The engine there at the Science Museum. And yeah, this is Wright Brothers Monument. This was an old truck at a car show in I can't remember what it is. This, yeah, I took this the same day I took the hot air balloons. Yeah, an airplane flying by upside down. This was taken out of my backyard. Air Force One.
Seriously?
Yeah, it was taken from my house.
Did you know they were coming out?
No, they go over and Richmond is an alternate landing site for Air Force One, and so periodically the pilots have to come in and fly missed approaches. They have to come in and you know, not land, but then go off and come back and you know do a missed approach. And so, and that's what they were doing. So they flew by probably about 10 times. And so
What lens, Kim?
let's see. I can't.
Great shot.
I can't get to the information because of the. Like this. I don't know. This doesn't have that information on there. Didn't have enough of that. It was probably a I probably had my 24-70. That's what usually is on the camera. That maybe what was on there. Because he was close.
Very close.
This is breakfast up in Moody, Maryland. It's a group of people who own this. This is my car right here, the first one. And we all went up there for breakfast. And so it was right being called it's a rare car. They're made in Australia.
What is it, Ken?
It's a Chevrolet SS. It's an Australian made car with lots of horsepower. big V8 engine in it.
So you the guys at 95 and running about 105 miles an hour, and weaving in and out of all traffic.
This is Peters. So and Peters not here today.
It's like Richmond.
It's from University of
Boulevard,
Richmond.
Right,
Yeah.
that statue right outside the model part of this thing.
Yeah. This is also from the University of Richmond. That's in Oregon.
Yeah, that's the pipes.
Okay. Yeah.
Okay.
John Lilly classes,
Where was that then?
University of Richmond.
Oh,
Yeah, this is all Peter's.
Yeah. And these are all Peter's. Spiders, of course. Spiders. This raise.
That's not. Yeah, this is from a couple of months back, I guess you should call it, when we were doing the twilight. So this is memory down at the
War Memorial.
War Memorial, yes. And this is the what part of the bridge here. Taking it like.
Did you use a tripod or did you just handle?
I think it used a tripod, but the bridge was a little shaky. Just wait for the right one.
Yeah. Did you have just regular standard flash in the camera? That was light set up.
Thank you for it. I'm not sure that's
Nice.
Over there. Thank you. And this kind of mixes together twilight, or blue light, I think they'll call it, and transportation. That was out there. And the
Sunday Parks with.
yeah, Sunday Park, there we go.
Oh, not bad.
Right, yeah. And this is the caboose. This is when we're doing a black and white shoot out of the computer, old town computer. Same thing, downtown Petersburg, a Holly Davidson, and I Google it, it's type of, most of it is a night called night train, Davidson. And this is my cousin's car, which is a 1928 Ford Model A.
Yes, great.
But they often have given to do, participate in the race. Single engine airplane, they would change you on. And this is a train in the millions. Little story behind this train, this picture. I'm originally from South Boston, Halifax County. And we were coming back from down here. Myself and my grandkids. And I'm coming up the road up 360. East headed toward Richmond. Through Amelia, and it's saw the train coming up, so that was reasonably slow speed. So I sped up ahead. Pulled in, jumped out, and took a picture. Yeah, change it around, we did a trip over there, that. Oh. That's
Right.
I was in Mexico. Who was it, one wife, I did.
I've been on that boat. Shit.
Is this one of the ones that goes out of Norfolk?
Well, this is out of Miami.
Miami.
And that is Juneau, Alaska. And that's what the watermark that in my logo that Ed doesn't like, but.
I didn't say I didn't like it, and when I do social media, I do watermarks, but not for prints.
Okay.
And I'm the same way.
There was a side item, Chuck, I was waiting to get that in here. You can write it on the picture, or if you write on the picture. And I have done it on some, I use a lead acid
Yeah, so that's a pretty, yeah, very, very fine point.
Yeah.
Roger.
That's a statue over, it's close to the Mariners Museum, in Newport News. It's sitting in a pond. That's the forge at, History and Cultural Museum in, Stanton. And that's the gazebo at Lewis Ginter. That's from the parking lot at the top of Grandfather Mountain. That's the James River at Newport News. That was off of the pipeline. We were down there, was it April? Yeah.
April or May, something.
Yeah. That's Maybury Mill on the Blue Ridge Parkway.
I get it, that's on my list.
Yeah.
That's one of 3 million pictures.
That's right.
That's been taken. This is a picture of a truck I took out at the Duncan
That's nice.
truck right here.
That's nice. So like the light falls on the truck.
This was over at Tuckahoe Creek Park.
Good reflection.
Yeah. And this was down, taken off the flood wall and the raft went by.
That's a flower, I think it's called Alstroemeria. I did focus stacking on that. But I did it 2 ways. The first way I did it, had the entire flower in total detail. But then I thought the total detail actually took away from it. So I then went back and I took out, I think the original shot was like 30 or 35 pictures. I then went back and I selected only the 10 that showed, you know, the closer to the reproductive parts. But by doing the focus stacking, I was able to get a lot of detail in it. This is Bear Rocks Preserve in West Virginia in the Dolly Size Wilderness. Sunrise was at 7 o'clock in the morning and we were staying in a hotel an hour and 10 minutes away. And so we left at 5:15 in the morning. The last 5 miles to get to this place is up a windy, rutted gravel road. And we were about 2 miles away from where we needed to park, and there was a tree across the road. It had fallen during the night. So my wife and I got out of the car, checked out the situation. I asked her to move the car back. And we were able to go to one side of it and grab the tree and slowly swing it around and lay it or something next to the road so we could continue up to get to the spot. Because after that amount of driving, we weren't gonna not get there.
Yeah.
So we got up there in time for the.
Yeah, that's a photographer.
The sunrise. It was well worth it. Yeah.
That's a picture you'll never forget.
Yeah.
A bunch of other drivers would thank you.
So Tom, in order for you to have that as your destination, what you've seen it before, Google.
I had been there about 3 years ago, but it wasn't there at sunrise. Okay. And I knew that it would be a great spot for sunrise. And so we were up in Hennessy Valley and doing some things. And I knew that this, I knew that that's the place, one of the closest places to stay to be able to get here. And to drive there from here would take about 3.5 hours to get to the spot. From there, it was only an hour and 10 minutes, and we were up there to do other things, so it worked out. So now this one is a bumblebee on a flower, and that was 2 weeks ago out at Louis Ginter on a chilly morning. And the bumblebee wasn't moving. It was just there. And so I did focus stacking on this. I've got a device I can put on my camera that controls my lens. So I was set up on a tripod, and it took about 20 shots to combine to get all of the detail in the shot. But since nothing was moving, I was able to do that. And it worked out pretty well. If you look really close in the droplet there, you can actually see my reflection in the droplet that one.
Oh, nice.
Yeah.
That's your watermark.
This is also in Hennessy Valley. This is very close to where we were staying. As we drove in one night, I saw this field and I was like, this is gonna be a good place for sunset. The first night I went out, there were no clouds in the sky, so it was a very boring sunset. But the second night, we had the clouds in the sky that made it more interesting. And fortunately, I don't have hay fever because I was standing in a field of goldenrod. But I like that shot. This is a Coosa dogwood. I stopped to pick up my grandson in preschool one day, and there was this Coosa dogwood there that had these things on it. I wasn't sure what it was, so I just picked off a little branch and took it home with me and took the photo. And then I looked it up online and found out that's a Coosa dogwood.
Seed pods.
But it's
Seed pods.
seed pods, yeah, that's pretty cool.
If you have not been to Tangier Island, Rain has been there, I suggest you go before it totally disappears. It was great, we were there, I think in August, but I went through there and tried to find the thirds for this. You can go on now. It's, yeah, it was just, some of the pictures, I never really cared about birds until I had a camera. And especially when you're up there at Tangier, it's like they're everywhere, and we were there in August. So it was, they were it was wonderful. And it's an unusual place. You won't find a Hilton area up there. You need a sense of adventure. We stayed there. The beach is right. I mean, you just take that short little walk and the beach is great. It's unadulterated and so on. I was happy to tag along with Nancy and Anita. We went to the Richmond library, and in the back there was this clock. And that's, I was messing with the intentional camera movement, and I was able to move my camera, but that is 2 pictures. So the motion was one, and then I kind of combined 2 of the clocks to do that, and I played with different colors. So that was fun. And this I took at Myrtle Beach, again, keeping with intentional camera movement. I think that was about a 5th or a 6th of a second, and that was in the morning. But probably, I don't know, 7:30 maybe AM, but it was great. So I was messing with intentional camera movement. Same thing there, and I can't remember. I also took that in the morning. I had to mark them in the morning. keeping with our thirds. It's really interesting. I was so glad that, it came out like that. I'm like, yay, hooping and hollering. As I was looking at it. And people were walking in front of another, they would walk behind me. I said, no, just do your thing, walk in front. So happy to capture that. Just another shot, and that was towards dusk. Different part of the beach. I can't remember how I think I just pulled back my lens, or I just picked up the tripod and walked back as I snapped, and again, that was a slow shutter speed, probably a fifth. I was finding out a fourth, fifth, or sixth of a second was working for me. Otherwise, it just looked like a mistake, It's just different views of the waves, and it's not the usual views that you might see when you're just strolling. Also like us, same thing. And that was almost a 2-minute shot. So I encourage you to go to Tangier if you haven't, because it is slowly going away, and it's a very unusual place to be. Thank you. That's very good.
And this is for the thirds. This one's supposed to be on a third. This one is pretty much on thirds there. And this is in Myrtle Beach. This girl was doing some gymnastics out there on the beach. There were some other people here, but I got rid of. There's some chairs out there and people consuming alcoholic beverages, and that kind of took away from her. This is Richard.
Oh, yeah, this one's mine. My wife and I spent about 10 days touring with Kathy and Wally Pendleton in the Southwest, and hit about 12 of the parks in that area in that period. This shot is in, where was that? I think that was when we're heading into Valley of Fire State Park, and almost fulfills rule of thirds. If you take the cactus as the subject. And all of these are from the same trip. This is Zion National Park. Bryce Canyon, and a small portion of the hoodoos, which are the a geologic formation formed by successive freeze-thaw cycles over millennia, ultimately form these individual towers. I was also in Bryce Canyon. I call that searching for water. The route caught my eye. This is also Bryce Canyon, just to look down into one of the deeper crevices. And this is in Goblin Valley, also in Utah. Different kind of formation. I don't recall what the nature of the erosion is, but it was there are lots of these goblins, if you will, on pedestals or just on the ground that are left behind. The picture I'm using as a screen background also is of Goblin Valley. This was Moab, Utah, just it was a curio dealer, if you will, and a steam tractor, I guess it is. It's a steam engine connected to a tank car, and the sign on it behind the wheel says built in 1868 or 9. And yet the casting on the side says it was 1876. So in any case, it's sometime in the 19th century. This was in, let's see, where was that? That would have been after, that was in drawing a blank, Arches National Park. Yeah. That's not an arch, obviously, but it was just, I thought the dead tree or bush or whatever it is was interesting, so. And this is an arch from Arches National Park. We discovered that if you really want to see any of the 1,000 arches or a number of the 1,000 arches that they claim are there, you have to be able to take the trails, some of which are very long. Wally had a bad back, and I'm getting old, so we didn't take any long trails. But this was visible at a without hiking very long. Excuse me?
I like your people in there for scale.
Yes, I was glad there were a few around because that did give it some sense of scale. There's another arch in this picture, although the tree was my subject. And is also in Arches.
And we have caught up with photos.
I'm sorry?
I said, you caught up with all photos.
I'm sorry, I couldn't hear you, Kim.
I should say we've caught up with all of our photo share that we were.
Oh.
behind on.
In other words, we done.
Yeah.
A few more minutes, maybe let's see.
Can I question, the audio here is not as loud as before, is that a?
That's,
function
we're
of-
just, well,
Yeah.
we have all the high tech, the AV stuff that Enrico does.
I see.
And so we're just using the speakers on the laptop. If I'd have known it, I would have brought an external speaker.
Okay.
And if we come back to the Chesterfield Library in the future, I'll bring some additional speakers to help.
Tom, thank you very much. Thank you, sir. And yeah, for the next 12 months, I will be boring you with pictures of facts. Because I plan to come back with quite a few, but you guys take care. Please, please, please do get some artwork ready for a show in November. It'd be really embarrassing if we can't fill up the space.
You need us to pick up the chairs?
Yeah, yeah, does better. What do we need to do with the chairs?